once you are able to create a group of people that will rally behind your brand, your service, or your product, you're in a good position.
Welcome to Virtually Live by Kaltura. In this podcast, we'll try to sum up all the latest and greatest in marketing, and specifically in event marketing. To help us do that, we've invited prominent marketing and business leaders to share their most important lessons and give their best predictions for the coming years. In a few moments, Fiverr's CMO Gali Arnon will join Kaltura's EMEA Marketing Director, Isabella Barbado, to chat about the power of a good community. Specifically, we'll learn how communities can elevate your event and vice versa.
Hello, good morning. Greetings and welcome to this virtually live session titled Community Building Equals Brand Building. My name is Isabella. I'm the marketing director at Kaltura, and I'm coming to you live from my flat in London on Abbey Road. Here with me is Fiverr CMO Gali Arnon. Gali is a true marketing veteran. She has over 20 years of experience, and before joining Fiverr, she was, among other things, the CEO of Brightcom and the VP of marketing at 888. Hi, Gali.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Gali, and I'm coming to you virtually live from the Fiverr office in Tel Aviv.
Perfect. And what else can you tell us about yourself and about Fiverr?
Yeah, so Fiverr is a global marketplace connecting between freelancers, talented freelancers from over 160 countries around the world to businesses of all sizes, starting from small businesses, startups, and up to large and enterprise businesses. We have digital services in over 550 different categories like graphic and design and writing and translation, programming and tech, video and animation, and so on and so forth. About me, I've been here for the last 4 years as the CMO of Fiverr, being part of this amazing roller coaster. And I'm in charge of all aspects of marketing, from brand marketing, community building, that we're going to talk a lot about today, and also growth, PR, retention, and so on. As you said, for the last almost 20 years, I've been working in tech companies, either leading different companies or leading marketing operations. I love the combination of tech, marketing, data, and psychology. That's my hobby.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I'm a huge fan of Fiverr, so I'm really happy to meet you. So you mentioned community, and that's the topic of our session today. So community building has been obviously a huge part of your business model from the very beginning at Fiverr. Can you share with us maybe your view on why online communities are so important, and what specifically what role they play at Fiverr, but not just at Fiverr, for brand building?
Sure. So I think loyal community and a strong community can be the brand superpower, actually. I really think that once you are able to create a group of people that will rally behind your brand, your service, or your product, you're in a good position. And I'll tell you why. I think, here at Fiverr, we've been nurturing, creating, supporting our community for the last 11 years. It's been, one of those core pillars of our brand, of our entire business, actually, ever since the company was founded. When you have a strong community, they can be your best brand ambassadors. They can be your recruiters. They can be your marketing channels. They can sometimes replace your marketing channels. They can be your storytellers. They can be vocal about things they like and they don't like sometimes. So it's not always, like working as to your benefit. Sometimes it's something that you need to make sure you understand the power of this huge amount of people. But I think without our community, Fiverr is definitely wouldn't be able to be at the same place like we are today with this amazing organic growth, with this amazing network effect. And the community, our community, is actually a lot of who we are and what's defined us as a brand and as a company.
I totally agree with you. So just to maybe paraphrase what you just said, it sounds like communities can give you also more control over your brand's narrative. So they're great for brand building, but they can also help you nurture your longtime customers and turn them into advocates. I guess that's the secret of the secret sauce of a successful community. So I was wondering if you could share with us some of your secrets and tell us maybe a bit about Fiverr's community and brand building strategy, how the two things go together, and also if you think this strategy has changed during COVID in the last 18 months.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, community can give you more control over your narrative. I'm not sure about that, to be honest, because sometimes when you have so many different voices and so many, people that are actually telling your story, it won't necessarily be the same story you want to tell. And I think in today's world with, social networks and power to the people, I think it's not only unique to Fiverr. I think for many, many brands, the main narrative is actually being determined or told to is being told to the world by their own customers and communities. And sometimes, as I said, they love what we do as a brand, as a company. Sometimes they don't. I'll give you a very interesting example. We rebranded Fiverr a year ago. And it was a very important process. We came with a new logo, with a new brand colors, and all of that. And because we have such a strong vocal and opinionated community, some of them actually loved that and thought the change is amazing, and some of them didn't. And they didn't want anyone to change what they've been used to see for the last 10 years, right? So I think, when you have such a strong community, you need to remember that your narrative will be told in many different ways. So I think that's one thing. As for our strategy, you asked me about our strategy in terms of our community. So I want to touch a bit about our purpose. And our purpose is really to provide opportunities to anyone in the world to build their brand, their business, their dreams. And when you come to think about it, we have freelancers for over 160 countries. They're all coming to the platform to sell their talent, right? Their skill. And when they are coming to the platform, it doesn't matter where they come from. What is their life circumstances? What is their background, their race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation? All of that doesn't really matter. They're all equal on the platform. What the kind of atmosphere that it creates is an atmosphere where everyone is equal, and you can actually level the playing field for many, many people. And I think that this is in the core of what we do for our community, because our community is not just coming to buy a product or a service. They're actually coming to make a living on our platform. We're able to provide them with work opportunities. They're making money that can provide for their families, that can help them build, future for them, for their families. And I think this is what's so amazing and what's creating this such a strong relationship, emotional relationship, not only functional relationship between us and that community. What we're trying to do with marketing is to just tell those stories to the world and their success stories. And I think for me, as a marketeer, our purpose, our story is bigger than everything I can do in marketing. So what I just need to do is bring this story to the world.
Wow, yeah. I never thought about communities that way, but it's it's very inspiring and really, really beautiful to hear it from you. I'll just slightly move to for a moment to a different topic, one that we are very passionate about at Kaltura, and that's virtual events. So I was wondering if you do run virtual events at Fiverr, and do you think that virtual events have changed the dynamics and interactions between Fiverr and the customer and prospects, the community?
Sure. So yeah, we actually are holding hundreds of community events. Pre-COVID, they were all physical events. They were organized either by our community organizers, which are volunteers from our communities that are organizing those events around the world, or by our own team that is spread, again, in different offices and teams around the world. But then COVID came and we needed to shift. We needed to move to virtual events. It was actually quite a smooth process, and we realized that it has a lot of benefits because all of a sudden you don't have any physical constraints, right? So you can have an event where people can attend from all over the world. You can find time zones that will be, right in the middle between Europe and the US, and then you can have people from different countries, different territories, different continents. You can actually pre-record the content and then send it later to, people that were not able to attend the event. So we found a lot of advantages in making those events more accessible and relevant to many more people from our community. I'll give one example that we did just, a few months after COVID started. We did a huge event. It was the biggest we ever had. It called The Shift. And it was about businesses that were adapting and shifting during the pandemic. A lot of them moving from offline to online using different resources on Fiverr and outside of Fiverr. It was a great event. We had more attendees than we ever had. And we were able to, it was a full day event, just like a conference, but just online. And it was about education, networking, training, inspiring. And we obviously were able to then record the content, make it available to our community later on. And we saw that people actually consumed this content for weeks and weeks after the event was actually held.
Yeah. Yeah. You said at the beginning that before COVID, you had volunteers in different cities running these events. And I think that's something that you can afford to do only when you have a strong community and they are big advocates of your platform. So do you have any advice for brands who want to leverage virtual events for their community building efforts and vice versa?
Yeah, so I think you touched on the first one, which is to use your own community for those events, right? So you need to empower your community. You need to they can be part. They can take part. They can be part of the agenda. They can be trainers and mentors and instructors. And I think that's a great way to engage with them even further. As you mentioned, we have volunteers. It's part of our grassroots philosophy of building communities. So we have team leads in different cities around the world that they construct their own teams, and then they are able to support the communities, their local surrounding, and also are able to conduct those events for us, which is just great, which is another, I think, a very strong tip. I think in terms of the content, it's really important to know who your audience is in order to make sure that you find the right content and you create those moments where people can engage with your content and make sure you inspire them and keep them interested in what you have to offer. I think accessibility is really important now with COVID. I think virtual events are actually a window for sometimes, underprivileged communities or, people that will not necessarily have access to those type of events and content. Now with the internet and, being able to provide them access to this is just a great thing. And you need to keep that in mind when you're planning an event. I think diversity of speakers, content, type of content. So you don't just need to stick to one type of content. You can have panels and forums and networking events, and you can have webinars and all type of video content that you can use. So I think with technology today, it's just endless. So I would, the tip would be to keep it as versatile and diverse in terms of the content and the participants and speakers as well.
True. And I guess, you touched on one very important point, which is the diversity of your speakers. That's something sometimes you don't see a lot of in your regular conferences. So yeah, amazing. Another topic I'm very passionate about, and I guess we marketeers are all is data. So I think one of the biggest advantages of virtual events is that they provide a huge amount of data that you would not necessarily get from physical events. You can use data for your follow-ups, for your informing your decisions for future events. Do you have any best practices or stories to share with us on how you've leveraged data for your marketing strategy?
Sure. So as you said, data is key here. Once you have virtual events, it's much easier to make sure you have control over the data, because I remember myself standing at the door front of a very, very successful event we had in New York, and you don't really have control over who's coming in, who's part of the party, who's not. How do you keep track of their emails, their interests? And I think with virtual events, not only you can have data about the participants themselves, but you can also, add layers of data. You can use surveys. You can ask them about their interests and what would they like to see in the future. And I think this is one very interesting area where you can actually understand what people are looking for in terms of content and interests, and then make sure you kind of design your roadmap in terms of virtual events going forward according to this data that you collected, where you know what people are interested in, what would they like to hear more about, and then make sure that you have more engagement because you are actually finding the right formula for your customers. So that's one way. As you mentioned, sometimes people that come to your events can be from your own community, but they can be people from the outside as well that just heard about it and then can become your customers. So as long as you use follow-ups and you keep the connection and the engagement after the event using bits and pieces of content from the event, you can actually make those people to become from prospect to customers. And then I would say the last thing would be to make sure that you create a holistic experience and view. So, for example, I told you about this Shift conference that we did that talked about the movement from offline to online. Later on, we actually created a product on our platform that is allowing businesses to move from offline to online. And we've been able to kind of approach all those attendees that came to this event and offer them those services and products that is relevant to the event. So I think that there's so much you can do with this data. It's just so valuable.
So we are almost at the end of our time, but before that, can I ask you, Gali, to share your top 3 tips and any last thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to do it as quick as I can. I think the first tip will be make sure your content is versatile and diverse. There's so much going on in the world. There's so many, different events and webinars and type of companies trying to kind of grab the attention of consumers. Make sure you do it as diverse and versatile in terms of content as you can. I think the second one would be understand what your people, your customers, your community is interested in. Make sure that you design and tailor the content according to their interests and needs. And then I would say, last but not least, just use as much as different options of formats of content as you can. It can be keynotes, it can be panels, it can be videos. The more, the merrier. I think that's kind of my 3 rules for
Absolutely agree.
Great virtual events.
Yes, and the internet is a very crowded place, so we are competing for attention. Anyway, thank you so much, Gali. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and I hope to see you soon, maybe in person.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you to our guest, Gali Arnon, and our host, Isabella Barbado. Tune in next episode, where we try to understand from Gong CMO how to shake on it virtually. In other words, how to close deals in virtual events. Thanks for joining.